I'm John David Bruja, standing in front of Peggys Cove Lighthouse in Nova Scotia, Canada. And welcome to a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner, United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island tour. On this trip, we hope to see up to 80 lighthouses, museums, forts, and more historic buildings. I hope you enjoy the ride. Well, it's another glorious day, so that can only mean one thing. It's time to see more glorious lighthouses. First up, Fort Point Lighthouse. First established in 1855 at a height of 30 feet. Fort Point Lighthouse is located on the southern shore of Liverpool Bay and is the third oldest surviving lighthouse in Nova Scotia. Fort Point Lighthouse was deemed too small. There was no room for people to sleep. But then a porch was added in 1878 and a kitchen around 1900. It was electrified in the 1950s, but discontinued in 1989. Set to be demolished, the town of Liverpool got together and took possession of the lighthouse and the surrounding area in 1970. And on a clear day, kind of like today, you can see Coffin Island Lighthouse in the distance. Unfortunately, Fort Point Lighthouse is just only one of two lighthouses that we will be granted access to inside and all the way up to the lantern room during the rest of our lighthouse journey. So I should stop talking and start climbing. Well, we made it to our next glorious lighthouse, Western Head Lighthouse. The one current behind me was built in 1962 at a height of 46 feet. Western Head Lighthouse is on the western side of Liverpool Bay. In 1924, it was a fog station and is never meant to be anything but. Unfortunately, times changed and they needed a lighthouse placed here. A radio room was built in 1936, and at one point, they had 3 dwellings alongside of Western Head Lighthouse. And just to the left of the Western Head Lighthouse is the fog light. Well, I've made it to our next lighthouse, and I can't remember the name of it. Oh, that's right. It's Port Medway Lighthouse, located at, well, obviously, Port Medway Lighthouse Park. Port Medway Lighthouse is located near the mouth of the Medway River. It was covered in vinyl siding in 1979, and unfortunately it was decommissioned in 1989. And it sat empty until 1998 when it was saved by the local community and reopened in 2002 after a $600,000 restoration was put into it. Ding, 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 ding. That can only mean one thing, a bonus lighthouse. It is Medway Head, or wait, was it Port Medway? Or wait, was it what, Port Medway, then Medway Head? No, actually, it was first Port Medway, but then it changed to Medway Head Lighthouse, which was first here in 1851. You got that? This Medway Head Lighthouse was lit in 1983. It was automated in 1987. The fiberglass tower was replaced with a wooden tower, and the light is still operational today. And as an added bonus, we were told we can even go inside and all the way up to the lantern room, as it will be our last lighthouse that we get to climb on our Nova Scotia Lighthouse tour. Oh my God, what a climb to the top of Medway Head Lighthouse, and what a view. Well, it's another bonus lighthouse next to a bonus lighthouse. Up on the hill is Medway Head Lighthouse, which was actually located down here for some time next to this Medway Head Lighthouse, but it was used as a lighthouse keeper's dwelling. The Medway Head Lighthouse on the hill was first lit in 1927. The tower height is 29 feet. Unfortunately, the light is no longer in use, and it is still a private residence. It was off to Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, where they happened to be filming a Hallmark movie called Christmas Island. Then we had some time to check out the sights near the pier, including the Blue Nose schooner, built in 1921, which happened to still be docked. Then we went into the town and checked out the city's vibrant colors while having lunch. Then it was off to the Fisheries Museum on Atlantic. There we checked out the different exhibits and the many artifacts, including the restoration of a boat out back. Well, we stopped in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. What does that have with anything with movies? I'll give you a clue. Back in 1962, there was a movie called The Mutiny on the Bounty, starring Marlon Brando and Trevor Howard and Richard Harris, and it was directed by Leslie Milestone. And they actually built a replica of the Bounty here for $750,000, and then had it sailed down to Tahiti to be used in the movie. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. That's right. It's time for another bonus lighthouse. In the distance between the sailboats is Battery Point Lighthouse. The original was lit in 1864. The current light arrived in 1951 at a height of 25 feet, and it was destaffed in 1987. It's a glorious day, but unfortunately, it is the last lighthouse of the day. West Haver Island Lighthouse on Mahone Bay. The first one arrived in 1882, but unfortunately it burnt down in 1887. A new lighthouse was replaced in 1896, but the wooden lighthouse was removed and replaced with a steel skeletal tower in 1948. Well, since we're in the province, Nova Scotia, Canada, why not some background on it? Some history, some fun facts, like it has over 170 lighthouses to visit. Nova Scotia is the second smallest province in Canada. It is also called Canada's Ocean Playground with 13,300 kilometers of coastline. It is the 7th most populous province in Canada. Nova Scotia is Latin for New Scotland. Nova Scotia's Bay of Fundy has the world's highest tides, and 50,000 tons of lobster are taken in from the waters of Nova Scotia every year. Well, this is the last day of the United States Lighthouse Society Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island tour. But what a way to end it. We are at probably the most photographed lighthouse in Canada, Peggys Cove. It first arrived in 1868. Current one was in 1950, which you see behind me, at a height of 43 feet. It was also known as Peggys Point Lighthouse. Peggys Point Lighthouse is one of the busiest tourist attractions in Canada. And from 1975 to 2009, Peggys Cove Lighthouse was a post office with a special cancellation stamp that consisted of a silhouette of the lighthouse. Peggys Cove is an active fishing village and has residents who live year-round. And according to locals, this here is the actual Peggys Cove. Well, we're at our next lighthouse, Indian Harbor, also known as Paddy's Head. It arrived in 1901 at a height of 33 feet, and it's on the eastern side of St. Margaret's Bay and formed by Paddy Head Island. Maintenance was taken over by the Department of Transportation of the Light in 1967, and restoration started in 2017, but a new lantern room arrived in 2018. Well, we missed it on the first day of our cruise because of the fog, but we did finally make it to a spot where we could see Sambro Island, first light built in 1758 at a height of 82 feet. It is the oldest functioning lighthouse in Nova Scotia and Canada. It is called the Canadian Statue of Liberty. It had a lighthouse keeper until 1988, and it runs now on solar power. Well, it's another lighthouse that we can add to our list. Sambro Island Harbor Lighthouse. Also known as Bull Point Lighthouse. It was first lit in 1899 at a height of 33 feet. It was automated in 1961. Unfortunately, in 1971, the lantern room was removed. In 2016, the Canadian Coast Guard took down the lighthouse and replaced it with a larger modern-day light. Well, I'm back at Halifax Harbor, standing in front of George's Island Lighthouse. So that can only mean one thing. The United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island tour has come to an end. We have seen over 100 lighthouses, forts, museums, and other historic buildings. And a show like this has a lot of people helping me put it together, whether in front of the camera or behind it. First, I would like to thank the 3 bus drivers getting us safely from destination to destination. And I would like to thank those who took care of us at all the accommodations we stayed at during our journey through Canada. And I would like to thank those who served us at all the restaurants we ate at during our trip in Canada, providing us with excellent meals. And finally, I would like to thank the United States Lighthouse Society for providing us this tour and our tour guides, Margie and Jerry Rowland. And last but not least, the hardest working travel consultant, photographer, and shopper, my wife, Carlene Bruja. For without her, this trip would not have been possible. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm John David Bruja, standing in front of Peggys Cove Lighthouse in Nova Scotia, Canada. This has been a special edition of John's Traveling Movie Corner, United States Lighthouse Society, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island Tour. I hope you enjoyed the ride.